We're going to get into the top 9 mysterious deaths around Jeffrey Epstein, but more importantly, I'm back. I'm back, baby. And I will also be talking about whether they're highly mysterious or just somewhat mysterious around Jeffrey Epstein, including the one that happened yesterday. And by the way, you don't need me to say this, but Jeffrey Epstein, the story continues to blow up Washington. It's everywhere. It's tearing MAGA apart because apparently there were a lot of people that supported Donald Trump who thought he'd actually do something about any of this when he was good friends with Epstein and plenty of connections of his own to Epstein. We'll start off with the one that happened yesterday. Roy Black, Epstein's high-profile lawyer, died yesterday, but I will rank this as the lower level of mysterious, considering he was 80 years old. This was the guy that represented Epstein and helped get him that sweetheart deal back in the early 2000s, where he would go to jail like when he felt like it. Like he'd go into jail for like a few hours, and then he'd say, I actually have to go do some work, and he'd go to his office. This was legit. He could go to his office. Like, it doesn't sound a lot like jail. Doesn't. Do they let the guy who works at the dollar store leave jail to go, you got to go to the dollar? Okay, go ahead. No, only if you're sex trafficking minors. Then that has to get done, okay? So you can leave jail and go work on that. Roy Black has died at the age of 80, but he also represented other amazing human beings, such as Rush Limbaugh. You gotta love this guy, representing Jeffrey Epstein and Rush Limbaugh. That's number 1, but we got plenty more, and many of the others are more mysterious. Let's move on. Don't forget to hit thumbs up and subscribe and all that stuff. Let's move on to Jean-Luc Brunel, the French fashion agent and close associate of Epstein. This is a photo of him on the famous Epstein plane, where a lot of illegal things happened. And this is him laughing with Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. And for some odd reason, if you look closely, she is pulling open her shirt or grabbing her breasts. Because, those are the type of photos you take in the Epstein world. The famed fashion agent, he was charged in France with rape, sexual assault, conspiracy, and human trafficking. So this wasn't just an Epstein associate who happened to get caught up in it. This is a guy who clearly had his own game going. He was found dead in his prison cell, like Epstein, in Paris, February 19th, 2022. Reportedly by suicide. A lot of similarities to Epstein there. Charged with rape, sexual assault, trafficking, and found dead in his prison cell. All right, let's move on to number 3. And by the way, if I miss any, let me know in the comments. If there are other deaths around Epstein in the past 10 years that I have left out, please let me know. Mark Middleton, the former White House aide, like a top aide to President Clinton. He later was a businessman with acquaintances to Epstein's circles. He was found dead May 7th, 2022. Now, I would not put him in I would put him in a rather mysterious, one of the more mysterious murders or deaths, because not 80 years old, 60 years old, which is nowadays relatively young man, especially when you're wealthy and you can pay for the world's best health care. The authorities first said that no weapon was found near his body. They, suspected suicide, but no weapon was found near his body. And so, well, how did this happen? But then later they admitted his shotgun was found 30 feet from the body. If he shot himself, I don't know how you'd get a shotgun 30 feet from your body if you just shot yourself. That would be pretty difficult. You'd have to, I guess if you shot yourself not in the head, if you shot yourself in the stomach and then decided to throw the gun as far as you could, but that seems unlikely. Mark Middleton, former top aide to one of the top aides to President Clinton. And by the way, Clinton, no sexual scandals around that guy. Absolutely free of sexual scandals around the Clinton man. 0. None. Except for all of them, including Epstein, including riding on Epstein's plane 26 times. Several of those times he got rid of his Secret Service detail, which, presidents never do. like never. Number 4, Stephen Hoffenberg, American businessman, convicted Ponzi schemer, like big time Ponzi schemer. And he was a mentor. He wasn't just associate of Epstein. He was a mentor of Epstein. So again, a lovely human being. Epstein was surrounded by just the best of the best people. He died in his Connecticut apartment in August 23rd, 2022. Now, I will put him on the lower level of mysterious considering he was 76 years old. All right, let's move on to number 5. This is Carolyn Andriano, an Epstein survivor who testified against Ghislaine Maxwell in the 2021 trial. So I would put this on the more suspicious. You've got a young person. They've clearly got evidence against these famous people. They are willing to testify, willing to put themselves out there in a court, and they then die. She was found dead May 23rd, 2023 in Florida from what authorities say is an accidental overdose. Of course, yes, they found these drugs in her system. But from what we know, just look at the death of Jeffrey Epstein himself. From what we know, a lot of these people have access to medical examiners. They are not incapable of threatening medical examiners to say certain things. But on top of that, injecting someone with certain kind of drugs, or let's say they were already doing drugs, if they are drug users, you befriend them and get drugs to them. Hey, here's some free drugs. Guess what? People who use drugs are given free drugs. They'll often do those free drugs. That just seems to be kind of common. Well, if you had spiked it, if you had put things in there that are going to end their life, which now with fentanyl seems to be easier than it used to be, it's not that difficult to kill someone and make it look like an overdose, is all I'm saying. Number 6, this is perhaps one of the saddest of the bunch of these mysterious deaths. Virginia Jafrey, probably the best known victim of Epstein, and willing to speak out so strongly against Epstein and specifically Prince Andrew, saying she was sexually assaulted and trafficked to Prince Andrew. And she was willing to be seen saying this. As no matter how much it risked her life, she died. She was found dead, quote unquote, by suicide on April 24th, 2025, not long ago, just a couple months ago, at her farm in Western Australia. She had stated previously to that she had tweeted or posted that if I'm found dead, do not believe it's suicide. She said, I'm not suicidal. She made this very clear in previous posts. Also, she had like a month or two before, she had been hit by a bus. Yeah, Virginia Jeffrey, one of the saddest ones, because she had fought so hard to reveal these criminals and these absolute disgusting scum. Moving on, Bill Richardson, former governor of New Mexico, former U.S. ambassador, and former presidential candidate. I will, however, put him on the lower level of mysterious, considering he was overweight and 75 years old. But he was named by Jafrey in depositions as an alleged recipient of sexual coercion. He denied any wrongdoing, but so Virginia Jafrey was one of the ones who named him as a client. Also, the family has never revealed his cause of death. They've just said they want privacy, and that's it. Yes, thank you, Merlin and Chad, for reminding me. We actually have to stop right now because Donald Trump has said don't talk about Epstein anymore. Donald Trump, our Lord and President, has said, whatever you do, don't talk about Jeffrey Epstein anymore. Said, really? Are you still talking about Epstein? Really? Yes. One of the largest and most horrific sex trafficking, blackmail, possibly Mossad, possibly Israel connected, powerful people. It's got everything. Mysterious deaths, perhaps one of the largest news stories in a generation. It hasn't been solved. We have zero answers on it. And Trump wants you to stop talking about it. Okay, let's move on to number 7. Now, I'll put this in the slightly upper level of mysterious, considering we pretty much know it is a homicide. Barry Sherman, Canadian billionaire, linked to elite Epstein circles, he and his wife were found dead in a suspected homicide. However, I will also say that a billionaire, most billionaires are corrupt, most billionaires are sociopaths, so probably a lot of shit going on in this guy's life. It's possible it was not the Epstein connections that got him killed. Very well could have been someone else. So there's that. The second thing is there's no strong connections. There are connections between this guy and Epstein, like him being in the same circles. I think it's pretty well known that he met Epstein, but there's not kind of more to it. He's not accused in any of the lawsuits or anything. So you'd say mysterious because it's a homicide and the fact that both he and his wife were killed, but less mysterious than that. It's like kind of like what information could this guy possibly have had? Also, he was killed in 2017. That is before Epstein was killed. But there was a lot going on with Epstein prior to 2017. Obviously, there was his first arrest in I think 2008, and there were a lot of things were unraveling prior to 2019. So no true flags in the comments asked, is Robert Maxwell going to be on the list? I did not include Robert Maxwell on the list for the simple reason that I was only doing the past 10 years. Robert Maxwell died many years ago. He was Ghislaine Maxwell's father. Ghislaine Maxwell's father. He died or was killed in November 1991. He was clearly connected, very connected to Israel, to Mossad. He was a media magnate, billionaire in Britain and Israel, and he was given after he was, died in an accident on his boat. After he died in an accident on his yacht, quote unquote, he was buried or at least given a funeral. I don't know if they still had the body. It's possible the body was lost at sea, but anyway, he was given not a king, but whatever replaces a king's funeral in Israel. And so the connections to Mossad begin back with Robert Maxwell, and then go through Ghislaine and go through Jeffrey Epstein and go through Les Wexner. Now, here's how weird and insane the Epstein circle is. I had a list of names for this top list of people killed or possibly killed around Epstein. And I happened to see, as I'm looking at an unrelated article, I happened to see an article about David Gurgen's death. Says nothing about Epstein. It just said, another story. I was like, didn't he have some kind of Epstein connection too? And so then I refreshed my memory, and yes, sure enough, David Gurgen, who you probably know as a CNN analyst, that's the only way I really know him, but he was also an advisor to 4 presidents. He died July 11th at age 83. So perhaps not that mysterious because you're talking 83 years old, but he was allegedly referred to J.P. Morgan via Jeffrey Epstein, according to filings from the U.S. Virgin Islands. And in 2009, in some of the Epstein phone calls that were released or transcripts that were released, Epstein said, quote, on one of the phone calls, Gurgen is coming to see me today. So had connections to Jeffrey Epstein. And anyway, died July 11th at age 83. Okay, that brings us to our final mysterious death around Jeffrey Epstein. And I felt it would be dumb to not have it on the list. So you might have guessed Jeffrey Epstein. I wanted to go through it again, more detailed, most of the evidence that Epstein did not take his own life in that prison. And so I thought I'd do it real quickly right now. First of all, yes, there was the medical examiner said, oh yeah, likely suicide, but there was a separate medical examiner, board-certified pathologist Michael Baden, was hired by Epstein's brother to observe the autopsy. And he stated that the fractures to Epstein's hyoid bone and other neck structures were far more consistent with homicidal strangulation than suicidal hanging. Okay, that's number one. Number two, malfunctioning and missing camera footage. So everyone has laughed at the camera footage that Trump's administration has put out. They said, here it is, full 24 hours of camera footage. And, oh, whoa, we forgot there's a minute missing. There's a minute missing in the middle of the night. But on top of that, you have to add in the fact that that is only one of the camera angles. with that minute missing. There were multiple cameras, and in fact, the camera angle they released barely shows Epstein's door. Why? Because most of the other footage has gone missing, or the cameras, quote unquote, weren't working. 2 security cameras outside Epstein's cell reportedly malfunctioned the night of the death, and footage from 2 additional cameras in the facility were reported missing or unusable. Epstein's cellmate, and this was according to the New York Times, although they were trying to run cover for the idea that Epstein had killed himself, but even the New York Times admits that Epstein's cellmate was inexplicably removed on the night of his death. The 2 correctional officers responsible for his unit, who are supposed to do 30-minute checks for, safety checks, and also because he was, quote unquote, a suicide risk. The 2 correctional officers both fell asleep. Allegedly, both of them. Were they spooning? Were they cuddling? How the fuck did 2 of you fall asleep? They then go in and doctor the records to show they did the checks that they didn't do. They didn't check for 8 hours, apparently. Because, they dozed off for 8 hours. What did they pop some Ambien and tuck themselves in a nighttime story in their footy pajamas? Then they are charged for that, eventually. Those 2 officers are charged with conspiracy and record falsification for allegedly backdating logs to cover up the truth, to cover up that they never checked Epstein's cell. But then those charges were later dropped by the DOJ, and both of the officers have now left the prison system. Attorneys who visited Epstein shortly before his death said he did not appear despairing or suicidal, and he had a bail hearing sentencing that could have freed him. So imagine you are a billionaire, you are highly connected with some of the most powerful people in the world, meaning the odds of you getting bail are much higher than your average person. An average person with no political connections and no $1 billion, bail for the stuff he was up against, sex trafficking, etc., probably unlikely. Bail for someone that well-connected, that rich, far more likely. Just look at the sweetheart deal he got in Florida. So he had a lot of reason to think he was about to get out on bail. His brother, Mark Epstein, said, if he had a life sentence, I could see it, meaning I could see him committing suicide. If he had a life sentence, I could see him committing suicide. But he had a bail hearing coming up, meaning his own brother does not believe that he killed himself. FBI and the DOJ Inspector Generals have both opened probes into the circumstances of Epstein's death, but then those probes just go away. The Trump administration says, yeah, we looked into it, totally killed himself. We'll see you later. We got to go. We got a thing. I got adult kickball team league. I got a league, teamy leaguey I got to go to. So I would love to. Oh, man, would you look at the time? Finally, we'll just throw in there that there was the absence of any suicide note and the absence of really a motive to kill himself if he thinks he might be getting out on bail. And he'd already been through the legal system. He saw how his powerful friends could pull strings. This is a guy who was locked up in 2008 for sex trafficking and literally got such a deal that he could go to prison and go to work at his office whenever he wanted.